Hello out there, and welcome to the pilot for the Decibel Boost podcast, the official music podcast for the website Surreal Resolution. I am your host, Robert, and with me, I have my co-host.
Hello, I'm Alex, and I'm a music guy, just like him.
Yes, we are both music people. Gentlemen, if you would prefer.
Yes.
Alright, so I suppose we should probably kick, this podcast off with some formality. So, Alex, how you been?
I've been well. And you?
Things have been going okay. I had a rehearsal with one of my bands over the weekend. It just ended up being like me on drums, the vocalist, and the bassist, who ended up switching to guitar for a bit because the other guitarist kind of got stuck somewhere and couldn't make it.
Yeah, that'll happen sometimes.
Although the bass player actually proved himself useful for once, so he's immune to rule number 2.
Hooray!
Yeah. And apart from that, school, getting back into the swing of things for the new semester. And, I got hired for a job recently. I'm still waiting to, get fully accepted into that. Apparently, HR messed up some shit. And, that's kind of delayed hiring me a bit. But, at least they'll probably get that straightened out now.
Yep, and I'll be starting my new job in 4 weeks' time, before the new place opens.
New place?
Yeah, new hotel.
Ah. New hotels are the best, aren't they?
Yes, because nothing's broken.
Yet. Just wait until all the rock stars start, renting out rooms.
Now, they wouldn't go to that hotel. They go to a fancy place, like the Ritz-Carlton or the Westin.
Or the classiest hotel of all, a Motel 6.
Oh, yeah. Doesn't get much classier than that.
There's always the dumpster behind the Motel 6. Alright, so with the formalities out of the way, I suppose we should get into some new music. Quite a bit of stuff that came out last week, and I suppose we should start with probably the one that is of most concern to me, a new single by one of my all-time favorite bands, Meshuggah.
It's very genty.
Yes, as it should. The fathers of gent, you would expect that from them. The song is titled Born in Dissonance. It's actually the first one from their newest album, The Violent Sleep of Reason, which I think is dropping first week of October.
Yep, a week after the new Opeth album.
Yes, it's going to be a good time for some prog.
Yeah, a good 1-2 punch for Nuclear Blast, too.
Yeah, I kept listening to the song, after it came out, and I was really impressed. What it kind of reminds me the most of is, some of the material on, I want to say it was either Chaos Sphere or Destroy, Race, Improve, somewhere around that time period. Specifically, it's kind of like a slightly slower version of that song, The Mouth Licking What You've Bled.
You gotta love those kind of song titles.
Hey man, it's metal. You gotta be as obscene as possible. It's what you do.
Yeah. Just like those fine, outstanding gentlemen in Cannibal Corpse in AC. Can't see the full name because you gotta keep it a little clean.
Yes, the good old Cannibal Boys.
Yeah.
But, yeah, it's Violent Sleep of Reason is one of my most anticipated albums of the year. Heck, probably my most anticipated. And the song left me very impressed, and I can't wait to get my hands on the full album.
Well, yep. Well, about 1 month and a week away.
Yep. Up next, bit of a surprise return. I don't know, you don't listen to much emo music, do you, Alex?
Not anymore. Not after those days.
We're not speaking of those. Anything but those.
No. Vietnam flashbacks are flooding my mind of...
A certain iconic band within the emo genre, American Football, have returned with their first new single in about 17 years. They literally released one album in 1999, and then they just kind of went away, unceremonious. When they recorded that album, they were just a bunch of college seniors who had just graduated. Heck, the album was recorded in a four-day time span before they all had to move away. Crunch time.
Oh yeah, the best time.
But from the album, just kind of, even though it wasn't the most ceremonious celebrated thing at the time, it wasn't super hyped, it gained a following through college radio and became this hugely important emo album. And now 17 years later, they're coming out with a new album, which, much like the original, is self-titled. because apparently bands can have multiple self-titled albums.
Well, Korn did.
And Weezer.
Yes, they've had, 4 self-titled albums.
I thought it was 5.
Oh, maybe it was 5.
But yeah, they've come out with their first new single, I've Been So Lost for So Long, and, it's about what you expect from an American football track. The guitars are very layered, dynamic, and pretty. The vocals are, they're a little bit whiny, but it's all about being emotional, man, in that college angst kind of sense. And, well, especially compared to the production on the first album, they're significantly more pronounced. Which, kind of a plus for someone like me who plays drums and likes hearing good drums.
Yes. It's always a plus having proper mic setups.
Yeah. Oh, you sound like you're trying to call thing with the coughs there.
Yes. Get some microphones.
Look, I wish I could, okay? Maybe once I start my job, I'll be able to afford a mic setup so I can actually, do drum videos with proper audio.
Yes. Yes, do that.
Trust me, there's only so long you can settle for the audio from a flip cam before you just say, screw it. I need something better. But yeah, new American Football single from their upcoming self-titled album, which I believe is due out October 28th. So, that's another thing to look forward to in October. Yay.
Woohoo.
Another new single from one of my favorite pop rock bands, the band Sleigh Bells, released the third single from their upcoming album, which was titled... They actually unveiled the title very recently, Jessica Rabbit, which is due out November 11th. They already released 2 singles, and they've released a third one this week called It's Just Us Now. And I gotta say, I've kind of been impressed with the new songs, more so than I was expecting, because I really did not like the last Sleigh Bells album. They just went, way too poppy. None of sort of, the punk rock-esque loudness of their sound kind of carried through that third album. But listening to It's Just Us Now, I gotta say, my hopes are looking up.
I am completely unfamiliar with everything you just said, so I'm just going to take your word for it.
Well, if you need sort of a frame of reference, one of the members of the band was a founding member and guitarist for this highly influential hardcore punk band from my neck of the woods. If I said the name, you, Alex specifically, would not be familiar, but take my word for it. That guy could write some shit.
I'm sure he could.
But yeah, I really I kind of like the way it sort of alternates tempos. It has this very steady stomping, furious kind of beat, but then for the choruses, it settles into a more relaxed kind of grooves. I guess they're trying to experiment more with this new release, perhaps more so than past albums. I guess the full pop transition of their last release was trying to be experimental in a sense, but it didn't work. But maybe it'll work better this time around.
Maybe.
Yep. Okay, moving on. Here's a guy that I didn't think was still making music, a name I'm sure that you definitely had to be familiar with, Alex. MC Chris.
Yes, I am familiar with that name through other ventures.
Hash wants sex.
Yeah, C-Lab.
And don't forget MCP Pants.
Oh, yeah. I want candy. Yeah.
But yeah, he is apparently dropping a new album September 30th, I believe. So, same day as Opeth. And he dropped the first single titled Fred's Dead, which, as the name implies, the song is, based off Nightmare on Elm Street, because what else is a nerd going to rap about?
Anime.
Oh yeah, I forgot. Nerds do rap about anime.
Yeah.
That would explain why MF Doom knows what Inuyasha is.
Yeah.
But yeah, I listened to the song, and it's about what you expect from MC Chris. You kind of have to be really paying attention to make anything out of what he's saying, because he flows. So his flow is really fast, and he's got that high pitched voice, so it's kind of hard to make out less than half of what he's saying. But he writes fun music. I'll admit that. It's kind of just something you can tune out and just jam to.
Mm-hmm.
So, MC Chris, Freddy's Dead, new album September 30th.
Awesome.
And up next, okay, I'm sure you and I are both frustrated at bands that keep teasing new material only to not actually.
Tool.
Yeah, Tool. Well,
That's never coming, is it?
oh, don't worry, it's coming out when Half-Life 3 finishes development.
Yeah.
We kind of got that with this next single. One of my favorite synth pop bands, Chromatics, have released the title track from their long-delayed album Dear Tommy. And I am trying to remember how long they've been teasing this album. I know their last album came out in 2012, and they've been dropping a steady stream of singles since, like, I'm going to say 2013. My memory might be a bit off on that, but just to give you an example of how long it's been since they put out a new song, the last single they put out was around this time last year. I know, because it was a part of the 2015 singles program. Yeah, and, you know, it's like year-long gap between songs. I'm just like, okay, are you done? Or is it just sitting in a vault somewhere? Are y'all going to put this album out? What? Help a brother out here. I mean, like, I'm pretty sure, like, Doom and Ghostface Killah will get their collaborative album out before this one comes out.
Hey, quality work takes time. You know that.
I know, but, like, whatever, fine. I guess you have a point there. But, yeah, Chromatics, Dear Tommy, you know, it's about what you expect. It's really, if you're in the mood for something extremely melancholic and depressing as hell, then it'll fit your needs just fine.
Speaking as someone who has every Steven Wilson album, I will take your word for that.
The king of the sad boys.
Yes.
While I'm on a tangent, since I mentioned Adult Swim singles, it's Wednesday, which means the newest single just dropped earlier today. And it's the one I was most looking forward to from the lineup, the electronic/noise rock band, Health.
Needs more health food, though.
Ah, yes. Who could forget their ever-so-classic appearance on The Eric Andre Show, the defining television series of our time?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I was really looking forward to this, because, funny, now that you mention it, that appearance on that show specifically is what got me to start listening to Health, and I got, like, hooked right away. Hell, their last album, Death Magic, was one of my favorite albums that came out in 2015. And following from a year later on the heels of that, we got a new single titled Crusher, which is appropriately titled because, you know, it crushes, especially near, like, the end. Like, it starts off kind of soft with these very, like, dreamy but depressing as hell vocals, and then the percussion parts, like, start kicking in and things start getting a lot more industrial and mechanic, and then towards, like, the back half of the song, there's these viciously loud pounding drums that only get, like, more loud as they start layering over more industrial noise, steam, or, like, clanking steel. And, you know, that's very appealing to me. I'm noisy and loud.
I can attest to that. Get All You Deserve, great song. Lot of noise.
See, this guy gets it.
Yeah, I get it.
Okay, and I think that covers just about every notable new song that came out in the past week or so.
Well, notable to us, anyway.
Yeah, pretty much. Maybe the next week or so will be even busier. Or less busy, who knows?
Yeah.
So, I suppose at this point, we should be moving on to the news. And we'll start with something light and amusing. You know the Garbage Pail Kids, right, Alex?
I remember that terrible movie, yes.
Ah, yes, doesn't everyone? But it has come to most people's attention, especially all the big music blogs, that they've released a new set of playing cards that are all themed after various rock bands. I know, because I'm looking at the Topps website right now, the company that distributes and I think manufactures the cards. I could be wrong on that. And I'm seeing ones themed after, like, Morrissey and Arcade Fire, the Red Hot Chili Peppers, Cure, Axl Rose, Beck. I'm just looking at these. These are great. It's dumb as hell, but this stuff is making me laugh.
Yeah, not really my thing, but whatever.
I kind of want to buy like 5 of each and just like give them out to people for no reason. Just you need some joy in your life. Okay, so there's that. Moving on, news that once again pertains to our interest specifically. Mastodon is apparently set to hit the studio sometime in fall to record their 7th album.
Yay!
The follow-up to 2014's Once More Round the Sun, and as soon as I heard the news, my first thought was, please be better than Once More Round the Sun.
Hey, the album was good.
See, everyone says that. It's just the number of times I've tried to listen to it, I come up with the same thought each time. This sounds like a slightly better version of Baroness, which is mostly a backhanded compliment because I can't get Baroness at all.
Look, my favorite Mastodon album is Crack the Sky, but I'll listen to
Me
Once
too.
More every now and then. It has some good songs to it. It's very, I guess you could say laid back and not so much focused on the whole fantasy aspect of the earlier albums. It's good. For what it is, it's good.
You know what I think? Now that I think about it, it kind of feels like they went more 70s prog on that album than anything else.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like the same shift between like Crack the Sky and, you know, that album as between the last really metal Opeth album and then the albums where they started just being prog rock.
Oh, yes, between, what was the one after Ghost Reveries?
Blackwater Park?
No, after.
I thought it goes...
It was Blackwater Park, then Deliverance and Damnation, Ghost Reveries, Watershed. It was between Watershed and Heritage.
Yeah, but the difference there being, I think Opeth kind of held it together better than Mastodon did, if I'm being honest.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, like, yeah, I guess it's not bad. It just didn't feel like Mastodon to me. I mean, even it still felt like Opeth in a certain sense.
Yeah.
But we do know one thing. If they're recording a new album in fall, they'll obviously probably have it out by 2017, and we could probably expect them on the Adult Symbols program for that year.
Maybe.
Well, I mean, think about it. With their last 2 albums, the years that they put out those albums, they appeared on the compilation. When they put out The Hunter, one of the bonus tracks from that was Deathbound, which was on that compilation. Then when they put out Once More, they put out that original song, Atlanta, which, to be honest, I like that song better than anything on Once More Round the Sun. Just that really gritty, you know, grindhouse kind of feel to it, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, looking forward to that. And no matter what, I'm probably going to be there day one with my cash to give it to them for goods and services.
Yep.
Okay. Next on the news, in headlines from 2009, Chris Brown messes up. Again!
Oh no, the horror. I feel so nothing for him.
Same, but, you know, it's notable. It's vaguely music related, so I suppose we have to mention it.
Yeah, look, I have no sympathy for Chris Brown at all. I know there's a bunch of sides to this story. I don't care. This guy has earned zero sympathy from me. Forever.
Okay, and to clarify what that story is, apparently earlier this week, I believe on Monday or Tuesday.
It was yesterday. Tuesday.
Yes, yesterday. News broke out that apparently there was a SWAT team surrounding Chris Brown's friggin' house. And no one really knows why specifically at the time, although reports kept coming out that apparently he held a woman in his house at gunpoint, like threatening her to get out for reasons that weren't clear at the moment. Heck, he was even making a bunch of videos on Instagram that were taunting the police. Like, man, y'all people always have to get me, man. Like, you know, there's real problems out in the world. Instead, you always trying to make trouble for me. It's like, dude, are you really trying to pull this right now? Like, the fact that there's terrible stuff going on in the world doesn't mean you get a pass for whatever terrible stuff you do. That's so not how it works.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, eventually he was taken to jail and, you know, charged with whatever charges they gave him. But he was released on bail And now the full details of the story apparently suggest that the woman that he pulled a gun on was apparently trying to steal jewelry from him, although she claims that she never laid a hand on any jewelry. And, more to your point, like, sure, there's a lot of sides to this story, but at the end of the day, none of it really matters because Chris is a douche who deserves no sympathy from anyone.
Right.
But, if you're at the point where SWAT's outside your house, don't you kind of have to stop and consider the wrong of poor decisions you've made to get to this point?
Not if you're Chris Brown.
That's true, because he apparently released another Instagram video saying, you know what, forget all this, it don't matter, blah, 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 fake positivity, buy my album, blah.
Woo freaking who.
Some people just never learn.
No.
But now on to something apparently more interesting, which also concerns a music artist who I don't like. I'm sure all of us remember that pop music classic Blurred Lines by Robin Thicke.
That's what I think of it.
Dude, you okay? You need a cough drop or anything?
No, that was just me pretending to gag.
Sure, pretending. Though I wouldn't be surprised if it actually worked, because, it has that power.
Yeah.
Anyway, one of the many things that came out in the aftermath of that song was that apparently the song was accused of ripping off Marvin Gaye's Gotta Give It Up. And in 2015, they were actually found guilty on that front and forced to pay a bunch of money to the estate of Marvin Gaye.
Right. This is the kind of thing that happens kind of in cycles with music. People write songs that take elements from other songs without getting the proper permissions or the proper licenses or copyrights or anything. And that's kind of bad.
Obviously. This is exactly why Weird Al asks for permission for every song he parodies.
Yeah.
Not to mention the fact that he's just a gentleman and a professional, which is saying a lot from a guy who's made his career wearing fat suits and funny wigs.
And playing the accordion.
Yes. Anyway, that was all in March 2015. Now, fast forward to very recently, where a huge, pardon my French, but consortium of various music acts are attempting to file an appeal with Robin Thicke and Pharrell, trying to get this suit overturned. Their reasoning ultimately being that it kind of places a dangerous restriction on creative freedoms. And, okay, to an extent, I can maybe see what these guys are going for, because, yeah, to your point, people take, influence and inspiration from, past works all the time. Although, what they're thinking seems to be is that this decision would punish you even if you just took, not even a specific riff or anything, but just sort of a broad style or idea. And if that were the case, then I could see their reasoning, but I honestly truly believe that Thicke was just straight up guilty of jacking another dude's work. And in that respect, I can't really, defend that.
Right. And here's the thing about this whole quote-unquote appeal attempt. This has nothing to do with stifling creativity, because that's something that comes around in circles just as frequently. It's about... what am I trying to say? It's about working within the confines of proper copyright law. You gotta get permission if you're going to borrow elements from other music with your own music if you're going to use it for commercial purposes. If you're making, a mixtape for just your own use of, mixes of two songs mashed together, if you're not going to sell it, that's fine. But if you're going to put it out on the market to make money off of it, get the permissions, get the licenses, get the okay first. That's the problem. They don't do that.
Yeah, it's illegal, and not to mention, it's just in bad taste.
Yeah.
Although I'm kind of surprised at the huge list of musicians that are backing this. I'm just looking at the first page of this right now, and we can see, you have the surviving members of Earth, Wind, and Fire. You have famed composer Hans Zimmer, the Go-Go's, Hall & Oates, one of the guys from Fall Out Boy, the dude from Train, all of Linkin Park, most of Tool. For some reason, Adam Jones didn't, put his name on this.
And good for him.
Danger Mouse, Rivers from Weezer, and doesn't that guy know a thing or two about recycling musical ideas? Oh.
Ooh, sore spot.
Just the surprisingly, the guys from Tears for Fears and 3-6 Mafia. Jeez, there's a lot of people on this freaking list.
They've all been roped in.
And I'm just looking at a lot of these guys are, heck, musicians that I like. Like I said, I like Tool, I like Earth, Wind, and Fire. Heck, even Danger Mouse has his name on here. I'm just thinking, okay, guys, with all due respect, I need you all to stop and think. Is this really the hill you all want to die on?
Apparently so.
Like, personally, I'd probably, want to go back myself to try to fully verify the veracity of that claim, but that would require me to listen to blurred lines multiple times, and quite frankly, I'd rather jam my arm in a paper shredder.
Who would want to do that?
Ideal world, no one, but sadly, we don't live in an ideal world.
Ain't that the truth?
That out of the way, last but not least, the story that I found the most interesting developing across the past couple of weeks concerning the newest releases by a fairly prominent R&B singer, a man by the name of Frank Ocean. Any idea who that is, Alex?
I know who he is. I don't listen to him, but I know who he is.
Yeah, heck, just to prepare for this, I actually listened to, his first album that he came out with, Channel Orange, and, I thought it was pretty good. R&B isn't fully my thing, but, I respect what he does, and liked quite a bit of the songs on there. But anyway, that was back in 2012, and since then, there's been so much just hype and build-up, when's the next album, when's it coming out? Another scenario like we may have glazed across earlier.
Mm-hmm.
He was dropping some fairly cryptic hints suggesting that whatever his new album was, it would be coming out fairly soon. And then it happened. He released this bizarre stream that no one really knew what to make of, where it was just kind of like him, I guess, constructing a studio, and there was, music playing over top of it, and, every freaking, music fan and music blog was just all on top of this. They were like, what is this? What is this mystery? What does this have to do with anything? And then what the secret finally came out, it was a visual album by the name of Endless, of course released exclusively on Apple Music.
It's the Lemonade effect in full force.
Yeah, don't remind me. Although, aren't you subscribed to Apple Music?
I am, and I get it for half off because I'm a student.
Good for you, which means, unlike me, you can actually access this should you so choose.
But I'm not going to, because I have no reason to.
Fair point. But it wasn't just enough that there was a visual album, but there was also a little bit of a twist the day after. Apparently, a series of 4 pop-up shops appeared in various prominent cities, including, I think, one in Los Angeles, where they were, giving out various Frank Ocean sort of branded stuff. Perhaps most prominently, a brand new album titled Blonde. This is actually more a proper album than, whatever Endless was. Not to mention, he was also giving out zines of poetry by various other musicians, including a poem about McDonald's written by our dear friend Yeezy.
Oh, joy!
Although, to be fair, it is probably the most interesting thing he's done with his career in the past 5 years.
Right, because he's an artist now. He's not a rapper, he's an artist.
He can't even justify being an artist. Trust me, I know. I tried listening to The Life of Pablo.
You're braver than I am.
I make poor decisions. Everyone was trying to make heads or tails of, okay, visual album? Now another album? What exactly is going on here? Well, apparently, when Frank Ocean released Endless, that technically fulfilled his contractual obligation to Def Jam Records, which means that when he put out Blonde, he was technically doing so as an independent artist. And you know what that means?
Full creative control.
And he gets to keep all the money.
Oh, yeah. Well, there's no money to be made in music anymore. So.
Well, it's sold, I guess if you look at how Billboard measures album sales, air quotes, it technically had about like 250,000 streams on Apple Music, although I recall reading elsewhere that it was illegally downloaded like 700,000 times, which I think was like at least 3 times more than The Life of Pablo was.
So 750,000 illegal downloads and 250,000 streams on Apple Music. That's what, $50?
Yeah, probably. So who knows? You could probably buy like, I don't know, McDonald's meals for you and 6 of your friends.
Yep. Music industry's in shambles.
Oh, you don't know the half of it. Especially because after this revelation came to light, apparently Universal Music Group made the decision that they were no longer going to make exclusive streaming releases and, exclusive digital releases of music rights for any artists or streaming services like Apple Music and Tidal.
Right, because it looks like they're starting to realize, hey, this is pretty fucking stupid, and we can't limit our audience by having exclusivity put in place. Bo-bo!
Heck, this exclusivity thing also seemed kind of pointless. Like, if we just look at Apple Music in general, like, I've been trying to pay attention to, like, what stuff they have exclusively that I could theoretically be interested in, and gotta be honest, literally the only one I noticed would probably be the most recent Anthrax album, For All Kings. Feel free to correct me if I'm wrong on that, anyone is listening, but I believe that first came out as an Apple Music exclusive, but one, I actually checked before we started recording, and apparently now it's up on Spotify, and second, even if it was exclusive, that's not enough to make me sign up for Apple Music. I'm probably just going to go out and buy the CD.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently, the fallout of this doesn't just extend to, Universal, being very sore about Ocean's dealings. Spotify themselves have decided that they're not going to give any kind of special promotion. In fact, they're going to pull back promotions to any albums released on their service that were originally released exclusively on a competing streaming service.
Ooh, and the rifts are growing.
To a certain extent, I have to agree with Spotify's reasoning that having these kind of like gated off exclusives for streaming music is just kind of bad for consumers, especially when you consider, again, Apple Music didn't really have much. You look at their big stuff from the past year. There was Rihanna, Kanye, Beyonce,
Compton, Dr. Dre's Compton album.
Oh, seriously? That was exclusive?
Yep. On Apple Music,
know that.
Yeah.
You heard that one, right?
Yeah, it's all right.
Yeah, I should probably get around to Dr. Dre's music at some point.
Yeah. It's no 2001, but it's all right.
Yeah, I want to agree with them in that sense, but at the same time, I don't know, this kind of punishment for artists who are like having their music exclusively hosted elsewhere strikes me as just a little bit petty.
They all got scooped, so now they're going to pull the plug on everyone, and Tidal is next!
Boy, I don't even know what's going on with Tidal at this point. I remember, all I remember is the rollout of Tidal. Jay-Z and Jack White and Daft Punk, who are way too dignified to be there with all those other guys.
Yeah. Last I heard, there was some talks of a sale to Apple, but I don't know what's going on with them anymore. All I know is they're next.
I would not be surprised at all. They just merge into the bigger guys because, apparently streaming services work like cable services now.
Yeah. You can't tell me no one's going to pick a streaming service based on audio quality. People aren't that smart. They're not that knowledgeable.
Could you imagine if they were? The world would be a much better place.
Yeah.
Kind of find this whole thing fascinating, although not completely surprising, because anybody who's followed Frank's career for a while knows that he hasn't exactly always had the best relationship with Def Jam. Heck, back in, I want to say, in the year before Channel Orange came out, he was dropping various just songs, on his own, mainly because his reason was, screw it, it's not like the label really cares about me anyway. And only when Def Jam saw how big his music was becoming when released on its own, they said, "Hey, buddy, we're sorry about not really paying you the attention we thought you deserved. Why don't you come back with us? We'll promise we'll make things worth your while this time. We swear."
And we're gonna get our cut as well.
Yeah, which I assure you was probably a pretty big cut since Channel Orange was one of the biggest albums of 2012.
Oh yeah.
Again, I can't really say I'm surprised. You got to find a way to break from those chains somehow, and if it involves a little bit of sneaky underhandedness on the part of Frank, then well, so be it.
Yep. Like I said, it's the Lemonade Effect, only without the HBO deal.
HBO deal?
Remember that whole thing premiered on HBO when it came out?
Oh, right, it did. I wouldn't know. I don't think my house gets HBO anymore.
Yeah, well, yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, that whole thing is... Just this whole situation is kind of bizarrely fascinating to me because of how just everyone is reacting to it. And I don't know how this, removal of promotion on Spotify's end is going to affect those artists. Probably, I imagine the worst it's going to do is, they won't, fully let you know when one of those exclusive albums drops on Spotify in the first place. But even then, word of mouth spreads pretty quickly throughout the internet. So, if on the occasion that Blonde drops on Spotify sometime down the road, the second it does, everyone who's taking a remote interest in Frank Ocean is just going to know about it right off the bat. So this whole removal of promotion it's not really going to do much in the grand scheme of things.
I doubt it will anyway.
But I suppose that wraps up all of the news for the week, all the news of the new music. Only other thing I wanted to mention was, I guess, if there were any new releases coming out on Friday, because we're recording this on Wednesday, and I imagine by the time this goes up, it'll be past Friday or on Friday, and, you'll be able to listen to whatever albums I recommend. But I was checking all the, every upcoming album schedule that I could. This week's kind of a friggin' dead zone. Nothing really of worth. The only thing I could find, one of my favorite synthwave producers by the name of VHS Glitch is dropping a new album on September 1st titled Moral Decay. So that's coming out tomorrow, and by the time this podcast comes out, you will probably be able to hear it. I know I'll hear it as soon as it drops, because he really is one of my favorite electronic music producers. Yeah, I suppose from that wraps up everything for this pilot episode of the Decibel Boost podcast. So I suppose we should clean house before we officially end things. Alex, where can they find you out on the internets?
On the internet, one place and one place only. On Twitter, at Aura of Azure, all one word.
Nowhere else, eh?
Not really.
All right. You can find me on Twitter at Rob Barracuda. You can also find me on YouTube by the same name, where I occasionally post drum videos. Although it's been a while since I last posted one. I think it's been a month or so. I should probably, get around to fixing that. But anyway, that's all for this very rough pilot episode of the Decibel Boost podcast. Oh, before I go, shout out to producer Mr.E for allowing me to use his music for this podcast. Obviously, Alex can't hear it now, but when he hears the finished version, it'll be there.
Yeah, it'll be there when future Rob edits it in.
Ah, yes, future Rob. Not to be confused with present Rob, who... Well, really, there's not much
difference. Who sucks.
Well, really, is there a difference? I suck all the time.
Yeah, we all do.
Okay, so with that, we are out of here. Until next time, peace.
Bye-bye, everybody.